Welcome to Geir's Everything, a podcast ranging in subject from sex to astrophysics. This time I'll take up something that is close to most people. If you're easily hurt, if you take things personally, your world is too small. If your whole life is centered around having a perfect body, then any criticism of your body will be a criticism of your whole world. If your life is all about your job, then taking a hit at work will see your world crumble. The smaller your world is, the more vulnerable you are to criticism, or to someone rocking that small world. Having a small world is commonly referred to as being self-centered. So bluntly put, the more sensitive you are to criticism, the more self-centered you are. It's like with a collection of things. If you have collected just one HP calculator, my hobby, it's sad when that one breaks. If you have 100 calculators, one can break and it wouldn't be that big a loss. It's like a business. The smaller the customer base, the more it hurts when one customer stops buying. Just like with the number of friends you have. If you have only 3 friends, it hurts like hell if one of them turns their back on you. If you have only one wife, just kidding. If you have just one line of income, you're financially more vulnerable than if you have several, etc. You get the point? Now, to get less sensitive to criticism, you have to grow your world. Grow your interest in more areas, more people. Drown out the focus on yourself by focusing more on others. Now, this is why I often, as a coach, make the people I coach go out and help other people to get the attention off themselves and off their own problems and onto helping somebody else. One of the things that does is help the person be valuable to other people. The other thing it does is put the attention outwards instead of inwards, and also to get the person to get some perspective on his own problems by focusing on other people's problems. Now, do you actually have to become an extrovert then? Do you have to be like party and extroverted and more American? No, you don't. You don't have to become an extrovert. Being social or outgoing is not what this is about. You may well be a creative introvert genius who hates being social and still have interests far beyond yourself. You may be on a mission to create the next big game, to figure out a set of mathematical mysteries or cracking out the cure for cancer. This is about how big your field of interest is, not how you interact with others. The bigger your world, the less sensitive to criticism you are, the less chance there is for you taking stuff personally. One example I used to pull up when I give people this subject is something I started with back in the early 90s. I used to have people draw a simple drawing. You can do this now. Draw a vertical line from top to bottom on a page, or you can just imagine that you do this. And on top of the page, on the top of the line, you can draw a picture of Mother Teresa. Many of you guys that listen to this might not know who Mother Teresa was, but her public image was of a lady in Calcutta that helped the children in Calcutta, and her mission was to save the world, to help the people, etc., etc. Now, I don't know, and you probably don't know the actual personality of Mother Teresa, but let's take the image, the media image of her. Now, that lady on the top is Mother Teresa, and way at the bottom of this line, you can draw Pamela Anderson. Now, she was a babe with big boobs back in the 80s, 90s, and presumably quite self-centered. So you can draw the big boobs if you want. Now, at the top of this line where Mother Teresa is, you can draw a lot of lines from her head, or a lot of arrows from her head pointing outwards, meaning she's, her attention is out on the world and the children and helping the world, etc., helping other people. And just one little arrow that goes out and turns back in and points towards herself, meaning she might only have 1% of attention on herself. She's 1% self-centered. Now, Pamela Anderson, on the other hand, her media image, again, we don't know the lady, but her media image, you can draw a lot of arrows going outwards and then returning back like small circles almost, back onto herself. And just one little arrow out, meaning she might be 99% focused on herself, meaning 99% self-centered. Now, if you draw another guy in the middle here, that you can draw him with some horns, and you can draw him as an evil face or whatever, and then a black ball beside him. That's a criticism. That's a very personal criticism that he is dishing out to Mother Teresa and to Pamela Anderson. He's having a bad day, this guy. Now, this criticism is personal. It's meant to really hurt the person, like your butt is too big, or you'll put on 5 kilos, or you are ugly, or something, right? Something personal. Now, that will hit only 1% of Mother Teresa's world, because it's only 1% that she cares about herself. The rest is about the kids in Calcutta, if they get enough food, the kids in Rwanda, Bosnia, the rest of the world. Now, if you give the same criticism to Pamela Anderson, that will hit 99% of her world, because she is 99% self-centered. So the more vulnerable, the more things you take personal, the more sensitive you are to criticism, the more attention you have on yourself, and the less attention you have on the world around you, meaning your world becomes smaller because it's all about you. A little less self-centered would be a person who focuses on himself and only his family or his immediate surrounding, or maybe his job. And then you walk your way all the way up to people who are focused on the world around them, doing something for society, maybe for the environment, politics, etc. So this is a scale. It's also a scale that has to do with, if you write beside Mother Teresa, you can write interested. And at the bottom, you can write interesting. Now here's the dichotomy between interested and interesting. A person who's interested has his attention focused outward on other things and people, etc. Not only people, but it can be calculators, it can be programming, it can be the cure for cancer. Now, at the bottom, the person is interesting. He is the object of attention, or wants to be the object of attention. Look at me, I have nice boobs, my butt is nice, etc., etc. Or look at what I just drew, my painting. And if somebody is then pointing some criticism at that painting, one identifies with that painting, and it becomes an attack on oneself. So the clue then is to be more interested in more areas. More outward focused on stuff that is not you. So widen your interest and you will be less vulnerable. And as a bonus, you'll have more areas of interest to get excited about. That's the coaching tips for today. Thank you very much.